Welcome to the Wealthy Woman's Podcast, a podcast for high-achieving women who are great at making money but struggle to build wealth. You'll learn how to take control of your money, increase your net worth, and make more. Ladies, it's time to create a life with more money and more freedom. Let's dive in. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I am talking about an unconventional way to start saving more money. Here's what I want you to know. Saving money is so simple. It is probably one of the simplest things we can do. You can literally log on to your online banking system right now and schedule an automatic transfer from your checkings to your savings to happen, once or twice a month. And then you're all set. And all you have to do is let the money accumulate. Like literally, it's that simple. But we all know that although that is something we can easily do, we're not doing it. And if we are doing it, we're not allowing the money to accumulate, right? We may have those automatic transfers set up, but what do? We spend that money, we don't save it. And one of the reasons why is because we do not have a savings problem, we have a feeling problem. So today we're going to talk about the importance of being able to feel your emotions and not use spending as a way to cope with your uncomfortable emotions. Okay. Now, I don't think I've talked about this concept like I'm going to talk about it today on the podcast. So be sure to pay attention and hear me out, because if you can master your feelings, if you can learn to feel your feelings, then there's literally nothing that you can't accomplish. You can do anything in the world if you're willing to feel your uncomfortable emotions. And let's be honest, this is not easy to do. Why? Because we are human beings. We are not robots. We are human beings with a human brain. And part of that human brain does not like to feel pain. It does not like to feel physical pain, and it definitely doesn't like to feel emotional pain. And so instead of feeling emotional pain, it loves for you to do something else instead. We call this in the life coaching world a buffer. It would rather you do something to temporarily erase that feeling instead of feeling it. So for instance, if you're feeling stressed, it would rather for you to go eat a piece of chocolate cake or drink a glass of wine or go onto social media or buy something instead of feeling the stress. Even though those things are very temporary, but let's just be honest, they will alleviate the stress in the moment. But what happens a day later, after you're finished with the activity, the stress is still there waiting for you. And you may be like, well, Jermaine, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with having a glass of wine or indulging in retail therapy or eating a piece of cake to relieve my stress? Well, really, if that was all you were doing and it worked, there wouldn't be a problem. But the issue is that the stress comes back and typically you are left with negative consequences to deal with. If it's in the case of drinking, you may end up having a hangover. If it's in the case of eating chocolate cake, you may be gaining weight that you don't want, right? Because we don't just do these things one time, it becomes a habit. If it's retail therapy, if you go shop online to relieve your stress or go to the mall, then now you have more debt. Now you're not meeting your financial goals and you're spending money that you could be investing. And so it's not that these actions are consequence free. And so today I want to make the case for you to learn the skill of actually feeling your feelings and not needing to escape them with other activities, especially activities that can cause you negative consequences on the back end. So as I said earlier, we are not robots. We are human beings with a human brain that likes to feel good all the time, especially that primitive part of your brain. Now, we have to be able to understand that and say, okay, I see what's happening. My primitive brain wants me to feel good all the time, so it offers me urges to spend money. But there's this other part of my brain. We talk about it all the time. It's called the prefrontal cortex. And with that part of your brain, that human part of your brain, you can understand the detriments of letting your primitive brain just constantly have you indulging in activities that aren't good for you. You can use that wiser part of you to say, oh my gosh, this is not good for me. And you can use that wiser part of you to question this whole notion that we should not feel negative emotions and that we have to solve them with some sort of activity. So with that, what if we just questioned this whole thing anyway? What if we question the fact that we're supposed to feel good all the time? What if we just decided that that was not the case? Like, it is normal to sometimes be sad. It is normal to sometimes feel bored. It is normal to sometimes feel frustrated or angry. And it isn't something that need to be fixed. What if we could train ourselves to understand that? Like, when we're feeling a negative or uncomfortable emotion, it's not a problem. All it is a feeling in your body that literally cannot hurt you. And if you can really grasp onto that, it will change everything for you. Because the truth is, life is about 50-50. Some people say 60-40, some people say 70-30. But no matter what it is, it's not always peaches and cream. It's not always rainbows and daisies. There is good and bad in the world. And when bad things happen, we want to be able to feel our negative emotions. We don't want to have to escape them all the time. And when good things happen, we want to be able to feel those happy and positive and good feeling emotions as well. So what if we just came to terms with the fact that, okay, I have a goal to build wealth. I have a goal to save more money, and I am not going to let my human experience stop me from doing that. So instead of dipping into my savings or not saving at all, I am going to feel my uncomfortable emotions. I'm going to allow them to be there without needing to send them away. This is what happens when we come to terms to what the human experience is supposed to be. And we will no longer feel the need to escape uncomfortable emotions like boredom, sadness, frustration, anxiety with things like retail therapy and other coping mechanisms. And here's the thing, ironically, when we try to escape our emotional problems, we create even more problems. So it backfires, right? We try to escape, but then it backfires. So taking shopping, for instance, once the high of the buy wears off, we're still left with whatever was bothering us in the first place. So let's just say you're in a situation with a friend and that friend isn't reciprocating the friendship, right? They're not calling you, they're not initiating dinners or brunches, and you're just feeling some sort of way about it. Maybe you're frustrated, maybe you're sad, and your way of coping with that is to indulge in retail therapy. Well, once the high of the buy, so let's say you buy some things, you take yourself out to the mall and you buy some really cute things, right? You're going to feel good temporarily. I'm the first to tell you that it feels good. That's why it's called retail therapy, right? So you feel good. You forget about your friend issue and you're good. But as soon as that high of the buy wears off, guess what? The situation is still there. You're still sad about your friendship. You're still frustrated with how the relationship is progressing. And you can use so many other examples, and I'm just using this one. It just goes to show you that buying things or spending money doesn't solve the problem. It's still there. So now, let's say you used your credit card. You went into debt for the things that you purchased. So the problem of the friendship is still there. And now you've got some debt you got to pay off. And now, instead of saving that money that you were planning to save, you need to put it on your credit card. And so maybe you did set up your automatic payments. Now you need to dip into that savings account and pay off that credit card. And if you don't do that, then you're going to be paying credit card interest that is going to compound and compound and compound. And if you're constantly in this cycle of doing this, you probably have a lot of credit card debt, right? If every time you're feeling a negative emotion, you solve it with retail therapy, there's a huge chance that you are in credit card debt, that you do have very little savings, that you may be spending more than you make. So do you see what I mean by it causes more problems? When we try to escape our negative emotions with things like spending, it doesn't solve the problem at all. It actually makes the problem even worse. And when that happens, you create an endless cycle because, as I alluded to, this is what you do to solve the problem all the time. And so this is what it could look like. You feel bad, you spend, you feel better temporarily. And then once the real issue resurfaces again, you feel even worse because now the real issue is still there and you have a financial consequence. So what do? Because now you're feeling even worse. You repeat the cycle. You're feeling bad, you spend, you feel better temporarily, and then boom, you feel even worse. Okay, you got to fix it again. And so you can see how this compounds and compounds against you. But what if we could just stop that cycle right in its tracks? Because when you allow yourself to really feel your emotions, you get to know yourself in a much deeper way. And when you get to know yourself deeper, you start to find the root causes of your unhappiness, and then you can work to solve them. So let's go back to our friendship example. Who knows how you're going to solve this? It's different for everyone. But I think just coming to terms with the fact like, oh, the reason why I'm feeling sad is because I miss my friend. And maybe that sadness is there to kind of guide you, right? If you would just allow yourself to feel the sadness, then you can decide, okay, what do I want to do about this friendship? Maybe you've been pulling back because you're telling yourself that they don't want to be friends with you or that they're not reciprocating, right? And so you're pulling back. And they could be thinking that, oh, maybe you don't want the friendship because you're pulling back. But the reason why you're pulling back is because something you're telling yourself about the friendship, right? And so when you get to the root cause of why you're feeling sad, why you're feeling frustrated, then you get to kind of work on that. You get to wiggle it around, especially if you have a coach or somebody in your corner to like really help you. This is exactly what I do with my clients inside of the Wealthy Woman's Academy. If they're overspending, if they're constantly indulging in retail therapy, we get deep down into the roots of why that's happening, right? And so in this situation, we would get down to like, oh, you're feeling sad. Why? Because of this situation I have with my friend. Okay, tell me what's going on. And then we can solve for that instead of using our money just to temporarily make us feel better and derailing all of our financial goals and preventing us from building wealth. And if you think about it, you're robbing your 55, 65-year-old self from being able to live comfortably without having to work because you're not willing to deal with the sadness or frustration that you may be having today over a friendship. When really, you can figure out how to get to that root cause, and then the sadness will go away, and then you won't need to spend to cover it up. And so when you're able to do something like this is what the cycle looks like. You feel bad, you pause, get curious about why you feel bad, discover the root cause, change it if you want to, and save your money in the process. Now, I use the example of a friendship, but sometimes we could be feeling unfulfilled, right? We as human beings, we are designed to grow, evolve, to contribute to humanity, to help make the world a better place. I truly believe that. I think we all have this innate need for growth, evolution. And when we're ignoring that, when we're deciding to stay in our comfort zone and not live out our purpose or do things that are fulfilling to us, we can definitely not feel good. We can feel stagnant. We can feel unfulfilled, right? We can feel like we're not living our purpose and we wonder like, oh my gosh, there's got to be more to life than this. And the way we cope with all of that is by what? By spending, right? We're feeling unfulfilled, and so we're spending. Or maybe you're not recognizing your inherent worth and amazingness, and you're going out to buy things to make yourself feel more worthy. But let me tell you this, your worthiness, who you are as a human being, your amazingness is 100% secure. And there's not one material thing on this earth that can add to your worthiness or take away your worthiness. And when we try to fill those voids of unworthiness with material things, again, we feel better in the moment, but that feeling fades. And then we're right back to not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy enough, and we just repeat the cycle. And again, if you're working with me and we find that out, we'll dig and see, okay, what if we just clean up the fact that you don't think you're worthy, and then we can have more money? That's what I mean by solving the root cause, okay? So when you get to know yourself deeper, you can start to find the root causes of your unhappiness, and then you can work to change them. And this is the kind of work we do inside of the Wealthy Woman's Academy. If you're constantly going into debt, if you're not saving, if you're overspending or impulse shopping is really preventing you from building wealth, it's typically because of reasons like this. There's something going on underneath the surface that you probably don't even know is there. And that is why you're perpetuating these cycles over and over and over again. And so if you want to save more money, this is the way to do it. Learn to feel your feelings. Learn to understand that uncomfortable emotions are a part of life. And a lot of times those uncomfortable emotions are solvable. Some of them are not. Some of them, they just have to process, right? Some of them are caused by just thoughts we're thinking that we can change. We can just simply stop thinking those thoughts. Like if you're thinking, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, like we can just figure out something else to think instead, and that will solve that problem. And sometimes you just want to be frustrated. You just want to be sad if something bad happens in the world, or if you have an issue at work that's not being resolved. Like sometimes you just want to allow those emotions and process them through without acting on them though, right? You still don't need to engage in overspending and retail therapy because those emotions are there. You can learn to process them through because again, after you spend, the emotions are still going to be there. So you're going to just compound the problems. Okay. I hope this was helpful. So if you want to save more money, learn to feel your emotions, learn to feel your feelings and not have to cope with retail therapy. And if you want help with this, you know what to do. You can join me inside of the Wealthy Woman's Academy. You can go to jermainefoley.com/WWA or book a consultation and let's work together privately. If you don't want to work in the group setting, you can work with me privately. That opportunity is available to you as well. I hope you have a wonderful week. See you next time. Bye-bye. Hey, before you go, if you're ready to create a life with more money and more freedom, then you're invited to join the Wealthy Woman's Academy, my signature coaching program where you'll learn how to take control of your money and build wealth without sacrificing your lifestyle. To get started, head on over to jermainefoley.com/WWA. That's Jermaine with a G. See you over there. Bye-bye.